Hello, this is Alan Wheeler with another video chat for my college English students. As always, if you've stumbled across this on YouTube, there's no need to click like or write comments or to subscribe or anything. We don't want to go viral or anything exciting like that. The topic for today is identity, and this is one of the chapters in our textbook with several articles dealing with this modern issue. And one of the activities that I always do in the face-to-face class is to clean off the whiteboard completely and ask students to come up with as many aspects of identity as possible. So in that case, I'm kind of defining identity as ways to define, label, or group people together, just as a working definition to get us started in this module. And so the students will come up with all kinds of things. I'll name a few here that I've listed, but they'll name hairstyle. They'll say that people can be labeled as coffee drinkers. They say that someone could be a Star Trek fan, American citizen, so nationality is one. And there will be specific examples as well as general categories. Someone might be a Democrat, a musician. Someone may have a arrest record, a student ID number has been mentioned. Someone else may only drive Ford cars or trucks. Someone may wear a Go Green t-shirt, an environmentalist t-shirt, or wear a police uniform. Students have said people can be identified by age or as a homeowner, by education or religion, a Democrat or Republican. And so in most cases, I get a board full of examples and aspects by which we identify people. And then I do something that reportedly another professor has done, and although not quite as aggressively as in the urban legend that I've heard, that the college professor went through and crossed out every kind of identity that could change, trying to prove that there is no stable identity for human beings. But a little less aggressively, I just try to have the students break these identities down a little bit for analysis. And so we will talk about these kind of things and try to look and see which ones of these are status, which are roles, which are memberships, which are behaviors, which are characteristics of the people. And by this, by status, I mean things like social class or rank in the military. And by roles, I mean father, mother, sister, brother, or teacher, student. And so, because student is a temporary role and then may change upon graduation, or someone may have a job as a construction worker and then lose that job, I will remark those are changeable things. And I will ask the students which seem more permanent and unchangeable. And so some things like fatherhood seem more permanent to many of the students, or personality characteristics like being a extrovert or introvert they often consider more permanent characteristics. And so we'll discuss this, and things will come up like how important is appearance, blue eyes or brown hair, how important is language, and at what point does being a coffee drinker move from just a temporal behavior that quickly changes, at what point does it become a deep part of the identity that, or an important part of the identity. Maybe if one is addicted to drinking coffee, or identifies himself, herself with a brand. I only drink local coffee or Starbucks coffee. And so we often get some lively discussions. At some point, I introduce the idea, the hypothesis or theory, the idea that there may be some aspects that are more central. And so I'll draw concentric circles on the board. And so you can see here that there's a heart at the center. And I will tell the students that are some of these things, like once a student said, I am a child of God, and that cannot be changed. And so that student argued that that was at the heart. And sometimes we find that the deep-held beliefs or values seem to be more deep-rooted in identity than the latest clothing style, which may be more outward image or something on the diagram. And we'll discuss that. And perhaps even put things from the various categories. And so here, maybe the integrity of an honest person we would consider more core, more essential than some outward expressions or just pure image with no substance. And so I'll bring that into the conversation. And then that forms a basis for reading some of the articles. Some of the articles in the textbook are about stereotypes. For example, The Myth of the Latin Woman by Judith Ortiz Cofer. And we have On Being a Cripple by Nancy Mayer. She discusses how she says, I am not a disease, how her disability is not deep-rooted in her identity. And articles on gender, ethnicity, and so some of this makes a good introduction to put this on the radar or activate the schemata, as educators like to say. Some of the questions that I like to leave the students with, and these are issues that could be used to form a thesis sentence for an essay in this module, perhaps. And one, I have question marks here because I don't have an answer, but there might be a spectrum of how we could consider identity, or even different developmental stages, or in different scenarios, how identity might manifest itself. But this would be going from the simple to fragmented views of identity, or conditions even. So at the top would be the simple, where identity is a unified whole and more unified. Then some views of identity might see it as more complex and with a lot of dimensions to that. And in some modern conceptions, identity is very fragmented, and there is no solid identity at all. I think of an ancient story like Beowulf, when the hero maintains that integrity and heroic nature through the whole story, and compare that to something like protagonist or main character in a Faulkner story. In The Sound and the Fury, for example, the narrator shifts 4 times, and even when you have one narrator, the time shifts and the identity and character seems to fragment and change. So that's another question that comes up, is how static or how dynamic and changing or constantly shifting is identity. And so students can develop thesis sentence from some of these issues to perhaps answer the question, what aspects of identity are deep-rooted, which are more superficial, or even defining identity, and how important is the group rather than the individual aspects of identity. So this little video chat introduces, I hope, some of those issues for the online students, and I hope it helps you with your assignments. Thank you very much.